many times wants to commit aggression, commits aggression. These are very bad signs that a person's nafs is very hawi, overwhelming them, overwhelming them. The same way nikah, right? Just by word, a person enters. Now, what was I told? You know, my he was said to me. A person said to me that, how can it be that Allah Azza wa Jal made divorce that easy? You do we have no responsibility for our words? Does our word mean nothing? That Rasulullah said in Sahih Hadith that one of the things that even in mazah or in anger, it is nafid, it will go through, is talaq. Right? Is there no responsibility for the words that we say? Is there no value to our words? Yani, this is something really to think about, and this is why most of the time, as I mentioned, most of the time ulama are being addressed with very strange questions in this area. The reason being, there's just no discipline, no understanding, no knowledge of how this should be done. That Allah Azza wa Jalla has said, "Inna Allah katab al-ihsan ala kulli shay." Allah Azza wa Jalla has prescribed that you do everything in a manner of perfection, in a manner of following His order and following His law. So many times in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ. If you don't want to let your women go, your wife go, then keep her with you with ma'roof, with kindness, with goodness. Or فَارِقُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ. Or separate with her in kindness and goodness as well. Separate with her in kindness and goodness as well. There are etiquettes to it. So فَطَلِّقُوهُنَّ لِعِدَّتِهِنَّ, that a person cannot give talaq when the wife is in the period of menstruation. As I mentioned, there's a hadith that Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, I gave talaq to my wife and she was in her days of menstruation. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam became very angry. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam became very angry with him, right? And he said to him that take her back and let the cycle of purity, then another cycle of menstruation pass, and then a cycle of purity, and then you may give the talaq if you are intending to do so, right? So this is for the better of the believers, that Allah Azza wa Jal commands them, and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam commands them with what is better for them. Right after this, what does Allah say? وَأَحْصُ الْعِدَّةِ, and be cautious of this period, right? Of these allotted times. When can you give talaq? When can you not give talaq? How much time has to pass? Right? What is that time frame that is required? Right? That the talaq be considered a talaq shar'i. The ulama of fiqh have different terms now. The abwab, the chapters of talaq are very detailed and very difficult. But they mention following exactly what Allah Azza wa Jal has prescribed is the only rightful way of talaq. It's the only way that you can, in the best way, protect yourself from committing any sort of aggression or wrong. Every other form is generally would be a different type, and some of them are more extreme. The ulama have given them the term of talaq, at-talaqul ghalid, very extreme, very bad. When a person gives 3 talaqs at one time, and this happens all the time. You would be shocked how often that happens. And it happens, and people, they say it 3 times, and they say, I didn't intend to say it 3 times. Then why did you say it 3 times? You could have said a different number. You could have said it 2 times. You could have said it 1 time. Why did you say 3 times? Right? This is the worst form in which the scholars say at one time it is sinful. A person is sinful if they do so. And same with if a person gives talaq when a woman is in menstruation. This is considered a great sin. This is considered a great sin. وَأَحْصُ الْعِدَّةِ, count, so be cautious of that period. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ رَبَّكُمْ. Right after in the same ayah, Allah Azza wa Jalla pairs taqwa. That the only way that you'll do this, the core of this is you must have taqwa of Allah. If you fear Allah, what is the sunnah ayah that Rasulullah recites in nikah, khutbatun nikah? Ya ayyuhan nasu taqu rabbakum. O people, be cautious of Allah. Some translate, fear Allah. Ittaqu rabbakum. The first ayah of Surah An-Nisa. So from the get-go, it's only taqwa. It's only taqwa. You have to have taqwa. Taqwa will protect you. Taqwa will protect your family. Taqwa will protect you. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ رَبَّكُمْ. Be cautious of your Lord. لا تخرجوهن من بيوتهن ولا يخرجن. Fear your Lord. لا تخرجوا, in the next part, لا تخرجوهن من بيوتهن ولا يخرجن. And thus you shall not expel them from their homes. In that period of the iddah is known as that period of time within which the husband, depending on the form of talaq that the person gives, may have the right to take his wife back. Right? And that depends on the type of talaq, but there's a period. That period must pass, which is thalathat quru. Surah Al-Baqarah mentions this, which is three cycles. Amongst the ulama, there's a little bit of a difference of opinion of exactly how that cycle looks, but the minimum of it, as the ulama mentioned, would be the minimum possibly would be 60 days. But again, there's kind of more details in that, exactly how that time slot works. But in that time slot, a man is not, out of hatred, out of disliking of his wife, allowed to deprive his wife of sukna, what is known as a home, residence. The man must still provide residence for that woman, right? And it must be the residence where she was living, right? So he cannot remove her from one home to another home, right? It has to be the residence that he gave talaq, that she was living in. She must stay in that home. وَلَا يَخْرُجْنَا. And she must also not leave. Right? So, iddah, whether it's the iddah period of talaq that a woman must wait, or the iddah period of if a husband dies, most of the time this is not also practiced the right way today. And it's very rare that people practice. And over here, Allah is commanding. This is not about the right of the woman nor the right of the man. This is haqqul shara, the haqq of Allah. That He said, you do not take them out of their homes, and they must not leave their homes. This is not about the right of the haqqul mar'a, right of the woman. This is not about haqqul rajul, the right of the man. This is about haqqul shara, the right of the sharia that Allah has commanded. He's given a command. Yeah, so he's asking regarding what is the wisdom of this period, that why Allah has commanded. There's obviously this friction between the people, and Allah mentions this, right? We mentioned in Surah At-Talaq as well, that sometimes this friction comes about between the husband and wife. So when there's this obvious friction, what is the wisdom? Some of the ulama mention, now that's the idea, that if you're following the rules and you do it the right way, then you'll have the right to be able to take her back. And one of the wisdoms that comes to mind that some of the ulama mention is that, again, that this could possibly encourage reconciliation. This is again, Allah Azza wa Jal wants reconciliation. Allah Azza wa Jal does not want divorce. Shayateen want to separate between families. Right? The best thing is that there's reconciliation and that the family stays together. And there's perhaps many other wisdoms. When it comes to law and wisdom, we must understand that there is a way to studying law and wisdom, which is that, number one, in deen, the laws we take at face value. So Allah Azza wa Jal says, do something and it has to be done like this, then we will do it. Then what are the wisdoms that can perhaps be in it? Sometimes Allah Azza wa Jal mentions it. Sometimes Allah Azza wa Jal doesn't mention it. Sometimes Rasulullah mentions it. Sometimes there's a hukm from Allah and His Messenger, but there's no wisdom at all mentioned. So the ulama will put some effort into it and study what could perhaps be the wisdoms. But many of times the issue that we make today is that we think by looking at the wisdoms or the harms or benefits, we can perhaps assume that we can circumnavigate, change how the hukum should be, the ruling should be. For example, I was talking to some people the other day and I was giving the example of alcohol. There are some studies we know, scientific studies of alcohol, that say that small amounts of alcohol can be beneficial. There are some studies out there that say that small amounts of alcohol can be beneficial to people, right? In their whatever, in whatever manner that is, right? Psychological, whatever. regardless of whether there's minimum benefit, large benefit, some benefit, no benefit. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, Khamar is haram, alcohol is haram, that's it, it's haram. Right? Now, a Muslim is going to look into it from that lens and now understand it. And the very interesting part is Allah Azza wa Jalla did say that there are some benefits in alcohol. There are some manafi'. But ithmuhuma, the sin of alcohol is greater. Right? So just because if a person sees a benefit or a harm in something, that doesn't mean that we're going to, in our own ways now, I don't think it should be this way, so it's going to be this way. Right? You have to go to the ulama. The ulama are not going to give you a fatwa from themselves. They're going to give you a verdict from the Quran, from the hadith, and from the years, hundreds of years of precedence which is there in fiqh, of scholars looking at scenarios, situations, and they give you the law of Allah Azza wa Jal, and then you follow that, and then Allah Azza wa Jal will bring benefit. That's how you yield benefit. Somewhat benefit. You follow the law, Allah will give you benefit. You don't follow the law, that's when you will bring harm. Not when we scale, I scale, oh, I think this is beneficial, I think this is harmful. So, there's always wisdoms. What can those wisdoms be? They're good to ponder upon. In the light, right? In the light of what Allah Azza wa Jalla has told us to do, not against that light. So in that light, we ponder upon what are perhaps the benefits. وَلَا يَخْرُجْنَا إِلَّا أَن يَأْتِينَ بِفَاحِشَةٍ مُبَيِّنَةٍ, unless they commit a flagrant indecency. So there's exceptions to law as well. This is how law works. And an exception that Allah Azza wa Jalla is mentioning here is that unless the woman commits what's known as fahisha mubayyina. And the scholars differ over exactly what this means, but a very good or strong opinion, which comes down from the Sahaba as well, is that fahisha mubayyina means that in that period, that a man had given a talaq, a sahih, appropriate talaq, and if the woman commits adultery in that period, then in that case the man would have the right to no longer provide sukna, which is housing. وَمَن يَتَعَدَّ حُدُودَ اللَّهِ فَقَدْ ظَلَمَ نَفْسَهُ. Now Allah Azza wa Jalla returns back to advising us. وَمَن يَتَعَدَّ حُدُودَ اللَّهِ فَقَدْ ظَلَمَ نَفْسَهُ. And whoever transgresses the ordained limits of Allah has truly wronged his own soul. So this is now the paradigm by which we look at dhulm. There's always discussion, what is justice, what is injustice, what is wrong, and this is kind of at the core of ethics, that what is wrong and what is right. Allah Azza wa Jalla is giving us the parameters. You want to know what's right? Stay within the limits of Allah. The limits that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given us, as long as you follow those limits properly, the way Rasulullah has guided you to do that, you won't be considered zalim, a wrongdoer. You transgress those bounds, you do something the Prophet ﷺ told you not to do, advised against, at that moment you're considered what now? Zalim. You've done wrong. Zalama nafsa. You've wronged yourself, and perhaps you wronged someone around you as well. La tadri. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, you don't know. By following His rule now, you don't know, maybe Allah Azza wa Jalla will what is the outcome going to be, right? Because we're always predicting outcomes. Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying, La tadri la'alla Allah yuhdithu ba'da dhalika amra. You do not know the outcome of your course of action. It may be that after this period, after this allotted time, Allah will bring about a resolution of the matter, something good, some good matter. What can that be? That Allah Azza wa Jalla did not mention here. He mentioned amran, which is nakira, which means that this is something unspecified. What is that? It's the beauty of the ayah that Allah Azza wa Jalla mentions, that it's something unspecified. You do not know what it is. And in reality, that is the reality of how outcomes and future things take place, that we do not know what is going to happen. But if you follow the law of Allah, it will be in your favor. If you follow the rule of Allah, it will be in your favor. Right? If you don't follow the rule of Allah, then you must make tawbah, so that Allah Azza wa Jalla can protect you from the corruption of your actions. This is why we make tawbah, we make istighfar. Right? In the next ayah, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, فَإِذَا بَلَغْنَا أَجَلَهُنَّ فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ. When they reach the end of their stated term of waiting, when this iddah period completes, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ. You have your last opportunity now. فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ أَوْ فَارِقُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ. You have two options, which is you either retain them in marriage, in accordance with that what is right. Bima'roof, right? You don't, and other ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah mentions that وَلَا تُمْسِكُوهُنَّ ضِرَارًا لِتَعْتَدُوا. Do not, a man may out of aggression, right? Allah Azza wa Jalla says, do not hold them now out of aggression that you want to delay their iddah period even more. So you want to cause them some sort of harm. Right? And this is the beauty of going into marriage for the right of the woman and the beauty of leaving marriage. That delays should not happen. It is the right of the woman, and the right of the woman is protected when the nikah is done quick. This is why the ulama advise someone good comes to your door asking for the hand of your daughter, and the person is a man of taqwa, then marry them. And it should be done quick, minimize the process. In that, the right of the daughter, the woman, will be protected. Likewise, in the talaq, to protect the right of the woman, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَلَا تُمْسِكُهُنَّ ضِرَارًا لِتَعْتَدُوا. Do not hold them to harm them, diraran, to harm them, that their iddah period will increase. Right? Let them go so that they can move on with their life. أَوْ فَارِقُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ. Or in accordance with that, in accordance with what is right, part with them. Part with them. وَأَشْهِدُوا ذَوَيْ عَدْلٍ مِّنْكُمْ. And I'll just briefly read the translation of this without explanation, and we'll do it again next week, inshallah. But Allah Azza wa Jalla says that let two men among you bear witness to this outcome, and you are the witnesses. Shall administer upright testimony for the sake of Allah. This is to admonish. ذَلِكُمْ يُوعَظُ بِهِ مَنْ كَانَ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. This is to admonish whoever of you believes in Allah and in the hereafter. وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَل لَّهُ مَخْرَجًا. Again, Allah Azza wa Jalla mentions taqwa, that and whoever fears Allah, He shall make for him a way out of every difficulty. Right? So out of every difficulty, if a person follows the rules, is cautious of Allah, Allah Azza wa Jal will create a way out for them. As for the rulings related to the witnesses, etc., and testimony, inshallah, we'll go through that in the coming week. May Allah Azza wa Jal grant us understanding of these ayat, forgive us for any shortcomings or mistakes in our interpretation and understanding of His perfect word. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. صدق الله العظيم. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك وبحمدك. نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك.